You still there?
I just about made it, Gary. I just about made it.
I'm glad to see you there, Andy. I couldn't do this at the moment.
I know. I had evening, folks. You missed all the drama. I had a little bit of a computer glitch trying to get on tonight, but we're here. Andy and Gary in the house. Episode 43, Paisley Community Chat Show.
I know, 43rd live chat show to the world. Hopefully our international followers and listeners are in this evening. Welcome everyone that's watching tonight. Should be an interesting show. One moment of disappointment to open the show with. St Mirren could only get a draw at home to Hamilton. But how far we've came from the bottom of the league to the top six, we're doing not too bad.
That's all right, Gary. That's all right. So doing well, the home team, the buddies. But Chicago in the house as always.
Hi, Elizabeth.
Do you know what, Gary? We do have quite an international broadcast reach on this programme. It's pretty amazing because we know we've got folk tuning in from Melbourne in Australia. We've got folk tuning in from New York. We've got Florida. We've got a regular in from Chicago. We hit Canada. Dubai.
Coatbridge, Andy.
Coatbridge. Oh my goodness.
Coatbridge in the night. Coatbridge in the house.
Do they have internet in Coatbridge, Gary?
They just got it in the day special for us. They hired it. It's a big HSS van arrived with the internet at Coatbridge just for our guests.
Oh, fantastic. But, oh my goodness, Gary was putting together the wee poster for tonight, and I'm really looking forward to speaking to our guest tonight because we've got, it's a subject that is really close to the centre of Paisley Community Trust redevelopment within the town, and we'll get to that in a moment. And Kinross as well. My goodness, hello Nancy. Hope you're keeping well.
We're getting about.
It was. I was putting tonight's poster together the other day. 17th of February already.
It's nearly Halloween, Andy. Time is just flicking by. It's flicking by. I said, time's just flicking by. It's just it's getting beyond a joke. This earth that we live on.
It's great. Did you have a nice Valentine's, Gary?
Oh, lovely Valentine's. Yes, got the roses in.
Fantastic. Was that a box of roses?
Yeah. No. We're on
roses.
We're on a diet at home at the moment. Well, I am anyway.
Are you watching what you're eating, Gary?
Watching what I'm eating. Started jogging. Bought a pair of leggings, so it meant I had to go out and jog.
A pair of leggings.
Couldn't run the length of myself now. I'll tell you, it's really hard at being the age I am, Andy, and taking up running again. But you're right, Andy. This is going to be a great show tonight. It's going to be really interesting. We've told the guests that it's really interesting, that it's a bit of fun, but we're interested in the development of our town and the development of property and the interest that brings from property developers and what they're trying to do. And we've got two guys on from Let's Cal Properties, Let's Cal Property Investments this evening. Johnny and Scott are coming on to talk about what they do, what property development is about, why Paisley, and what their ambitions are for their businesses, particularly in our town.
Yep. It's going to be great. Looking forward to speaking to them in a few moments, no doubt. But Gary, as we always do, what's caught your eye this week?
Caught my eye this week. There's something that caught my eye, Andy, that isn't there to catch my eye yet, but I'm sure you'll get to that. and you'll put it on for me.
If you didn't upload the image onto Teams, Gary, it's no here.
What? It's there.
What time? When?
Well, I'll double check. I'll go and have a look while something else happens. But one thing caught my eye. So this caught my eye, Andy. So remember we had with the Christmas Toy Bank on, of course, they changed their name to the Renfrewshire Toy Bank.
Yes.
Now the Renfrewshire Toy Bank are appealing. They're already appealing for an Easter egg appeal. This is, if you can see that, everyone. That's really they're not wanting donations. They don't want people to drop off eggs because of COVID and the protocols, etc., etc. But they want to provide eggs for kids in and around Renfrewshire. So we're looking for businesses, individuals. If you feel like you want to donate to the Renfrewshire Toy Bank for the Easter egg appeal, then go to their Facebook page and their short code bank details are there, put some money into their bank, or there's a PayPal. You can go to PayPal and give them some money, make a donation, and that will go towards Easter eggs.
Fantastic. Now, I'm going to pop that back up on the screen one moment, Gary, because it's really important that it's the Renfrewshire Toy Bank one, because that's the one that we recognise. It's the one that Renfrewshire Council and the Provost is a big supporter of as well. There are other ones out there, but this is a Renfrewshire Toy Bank Facebook page. So make sure that if you want to support that organisation, and we've had them on a couple of times, they do amazing work in the community. Make sure you get the right one and not the wrong one, because we can't be having that. So make sure the Renfrewshire Toy Bank.
Yes, endorsed, Andy. So Renfrewshire Toy Bank, that's it. And they're doing birthday things as well. So you see stuff on their Facebook about what their appeals are for. And another thing caught my eye, Andy, and it's in a similar vein. Remember a couple of weeks ago we mentioned that the Star Project had an incident and unfortunate enough to have a fire.
Oof.
They had an electrical fire. I don't know the details of it. Maybe Sharon can pop some comments up on the side, but they had a small electrical fire which has disrupted them somewhat, and they need some help. So through this is donations again, but they're looking for food stuff. So there's bread, meat, coffee, sugar, etc., toiletries, ready meals, and fresh produce. So if you've got that type of thing, or you go to Tesco, or you go to Sainsbury's, or go to M&S or whatever, and you want to buy a bit of spare and donate it to the Star Project, then all donations are gratefully received.
Fantastic. Excellent, Gary. A worthy cause. The folk at the Star Project was, again, another regular on the show, Gary. Anything that we can do to help them, we're delighted to do. Yes, so you're on a roll with things that caught your eye this week, Gary, and I know we're going to be chatting about a whole range of subjects tonight, but I'm busy looking for this other image that you've told me about, which I'm presuming is the image from this year's AGM for the Paisley Community Trust.
Yeah, is it not there?
I can't see it, Gary. Where have you put it?
Well, give me a minute, because I can do stuff.
Talk amongst yourselves. This is the higher level advanced ScotVic module of can Gary get an image on the screen himself?
Talk among yourself is that's my catchphrase. So it's, excuse me, talk among yourself.
We comment coming in from Sharon. So electrical fire caused by a small amount of water dripping down behind the casing of the mains. Sharon, we hope that you're getting over that. That can be pretty catastrophic, but I'm sure you're doing just fine. Good to see Caroline in the house. Councillor Devine as a regular listener. There's Helena. Evening, Helena. And, yeah, we've got a few others. I'm trying to avoid your mate Ramy because he's changed his name again, and I can't show that on screen, Gary. That's a family show.
His name's all right. It was just when I was talking Ramy's name last week, you need to be really, really careful and say
his name's no all right.
You need to say that. You just need to say no, Andy.
We're having a ban on rude comments. It's a family show.
Anyway, that image, Andy.
What?
That image I thought I put up into the image area, isn't it? In the image area.
So I'm okay then.
Aye, you're forgiven. It's a missing image.
It's a missing image, but it was referencing Paisley Community Trust AGM that we had earlier on, and was it this week? It was yes. Monday night. We, just to let everyone know, we at Paisley Community Trust had our AGM on Monday evening. So our first virtual AGM, we had a Zoom session on Monday. Dead exciting, dead entertaining. Half an hour of accounts and report to say what we did in the year up to March 2019, and then the pandemic took over. So we're now formally, we've got that year out of the way. It was the worst episode of the chat show ever, Gary, wasn't it? It was. The guests weren't bad, but the chat wasn't so good. And we've got a new trustee. So the process, if just for everyone's, just so you know, if you want to become a member of Paisley Community Trust,
click on our website, fill in the website or the web forum. If you're in PA 1, 2, and 3, you can become a member, and if you can become a member, you can become a trustee. It's as easy as that. So as a community organisation, we welcome people with a diverse range of backgrounds and skills. Andy, that sounds really quite formal.
That was really good. But I mean, it's true because, you know, Paisley, a couple of wee quick facts. Paisley Community Trust, we're a charity. So that's the first thing. Second thing is all our trustees do it out of their own time. They're all volunteers. There's no one gets paid. We do this because we love the town. We love Paisley and we want to do something about it. So if you've got that passion, if you love your hometown, or if maybe you've moved to Paisley and you've made it your town and you want to see the place improve, that's what Paisley Community Trust is all about. You can become a member first and foremost. So if you live in PA1, PA2, PA3, jump onto our website and join up. And if you want to become involved, whether it's directly as a trustee or a volunteer, we and the community of Paisley would be absolutely delighted to have your involvement. So get involved, folks.
Yeah, totally, Andy. And I've got to mention last week's show.
Go on then.
Last week's show, we were talking about the book festival, and it's all kicking off tomorrow, Andy. So if you were watching the show last week, really interesting, talking about books, talking about reading. Some of my jokes fell flat, but there you go. That's what happens normally. My quote, remember my quote thing?
Your quote book, Gary, yeah.
My sister pulled me up last week because she said, Mark, I asked you for page 43, and I didn't read it out. And I sent her a picture of page 43 during the week, and all it said was the Beatles. So she thank God. Thank God I never got page 43.
We've got breaking news in tonight, Gary, from some of our viewers. Josh, who was on the show a few weeks ago, the Join Us page from Google is broken.
There's feedback. Thanks, Josh.
Well, and Josh has just declared himself as a web developer. So, Josh, thank you so much for volunteering to now look after, along with the rest of the team, some of the web-related stuff on Paisley Community Trust website. That's great, Josh. Thanks very much.
Let's fast track Josh.
Let's get him signed up as a member and give him a job straight away.
Well, and one of the other things that caught my eye this week, Andy, and it was one of our members and one of our friends that joins us almost every week, and is a great friend of the Community Trust and an advisor. And came up on his page this week was the Tannahill Regeneration Project.
All right.
It came up on the Fergusley page, and it came up on John's page as well, John McIntyre. And I noticed this caught my eye, and it was John's tenacity and engaging with the community one side, and also with the council on the other side, and ensuring that the communication of the developments down in Fergusley Park are to the forefront in his community. So he's communicated out to the community through his social media channels that the Tannahill Regeneration Project is going ahead, and it's going to look something like that. It looks really quite exciting down in Fergusley. So that caught my eye, and it was with a very natural flow of my producer hat on, Andy, my Paisley Community Chat Show producer hat, so that the next section of the show flows quite nicely.
You've just shimmied us in to talking about development within Paisley seamlessly, Gary. I don't think anyone will have noticed how cleverly you done that, Gary.
Just because we mention it, maybe they will.
What you also missed was I got a tea delivery.
I've not got mine. I'm going to get mine later on, because I think with our newfound discipline, Andy,
go on.
You're going to finish around about 9 o'clock tonight.
Tonight, do you reckon?
This is a newfound discipline, because we have actually got lives.
We
unknown to the viewer. We've got a to go to.
Listen, Gary, we had a wee chat with Annette, who will be coming on to talk to us about question of the week. And last week's was a belter. It was brilliant engagement. Annette will tell us all about that coming up. And then we've got the guys on from Lexcal, and the stuff that they're doing is fantastic. And I'm sure they'll want to blether as well. And as we always say, Gary, it's the guests that make the show. We'll be struggling if we see 9:30 tonight, Gary.
That's the way it goes, isn't it? We know. But we're trying, Eddie. We're going to try. Come on. Aye, so it's going to be real interesting. So that segue into property takes us from that semi-informal talk a load of mince first 15-minute section, Andy.
Highly entertaining, I like to think, Gary.
Well, now, as we've had letters, we've had postcards. That bit's over. We're now into the new format of the show, and we're about to chat and lead into Annette. We're going to bring Annette on in a wee minute to talk about question of the week and the response to the question: does Paisley want a bandstand back at Barshaw Park or not?
Aye.
I'm on tenterhooks waiting on the answer to that one. And what is it? I can see comments coming in. This is very good.
We're getting pelters from the audience here.
What have we done right?
Although we've got John, we've got John volunteering to come on the show and talk about Ferguson development, which would be great. John, yes, we'll take you up on that.
Absolutely. And then as long as your kitchen doesn't blow up this time.
And then we've got Ian McDonald slagging us off. Pelters on the show, Gary.
Nice to be nice, isn't it?
Right, what's next? Where are we?
So we're talking about Paisley and property development, and I've did some research on property, and there's a contrary to the myth that surrounds Paisley and people that maybe not from here, or some of the naysayers in and around the town that think Paisley's not a very nice place. There's loads going on. There's loads had happened. There's loads happening, and there's loads that could happen. And we want to highlight some of them. I maybe want to start off, Andy, and I think I'll maybe dive in here.
Go on, Gary.
If I can find something that's sensible and maybe close to us.
Yep.
So things that are about to happen. Now this image. So we know where this is, Andy. We this is for folk that know us and the work that we've done. This is where we were hoping that Baker Street would have been.
Yeah,
it's right down the back of Arnott's.
Back of Arnott's, Gary.
It's not a development site. It's a site that is being developed. That'll be social housing. So you'll be coming along. The positive things for us probably is you'll come along on the railway. You'll look to the left-hand side, and there won't be a derelict site there anymore. There won't be a haphazard pothole car park. There will be houses, which is great. So that's maybe kicking off, Andy, for things that are in motion at the moment. Other things that we know, maybe go a wee bit random on this.
Go on.
Some developments that I'm not quite sure where they are, but this one is a real. It could be a jewel in the crown in Paisley, and I know that from ground level up has been developed.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure the status of it. So that was, as you know, Andy, that was an absolute mess.
Well, you're absolutely right, Gary. And anyone that knows Paisley knows the fire station, and it lay, it wasn't derelict, but it lay emptied and boarded up in a sorry state with plants growing out of the roof and everything. And then two brave guys bought it at an auction. I think they're Paisley folk. They're from this area anyway, and they bought it, not really knowing what they were biting off. I think there was a few expectations in terms of support they might get, but they did it on their own, Gary, and thankfully they have returned it to a really great condition externally. They've glazed it. It looks like it's wind and watertight, and that's the type of bravery that we need in Paisley. I don't know what's going to happen to it long term. If anyone knows the developers, we'd be delighted to talk to them and get them on the show, because what a spectacular building the fire station is.
Yeah, there's a few comments coming in, Andy, related to that. There's Councillor Eddie Devine, apparently it's been sold on.
Yep.
And there's someone else commenting. Frank would love to see the fire station finished and used. So that's
evening, Frank.
It's a really interesting building. It being our old fire station. I mean, I don't remember it being a fire station, of course, but I remember it being just there and central to the town, and everyone knows it. So fingers crossed as we come out of the pandemic, that's a property that'll be used. So I like that image. Other ones that have happened, Andy, and are anchored in the town now. There's one that I want to highlight. So when the council get involved and they do things well, we're going to praise it and we're going to say well done. So this one, this was one side of the council buildings, and now there must have been a load of fat, if you know what I mean, room-wise in the council. They must have been rattling about in there, because that was one side of the council building, and the other side, and a development site emerged, and that's became Abbey View, I think that's called, Andy.
Right. And it was a good view of the Abbey and of the town hall. But I mean, the council buildings that were there, getting rid of them and putting in a property development. Listen, you can talk about the architectural merit. I like my architecture. Is that, an architectural masterpiece? Probably not. But what it does do is takes a space, it puts something of good purpose on it, great housing right in the town centre. And it's far better than what was there before. Yeah,
and on that, Andy, I've probably missed what caught my eye, but it's probably relevant to this, because the strategic approach to regenerate town centres. I was speaking to Scotland's Towns Partnership today in advance of attending this tomorrow. So it's an online webinar launch of a new future for Scotland's town centres. Now, the strategic approach for regeneration of town centres has been widely accepted now at Scottish Government level, that the climate emergency is at the forefront. And in a 20-minute community, a 20-minute journey of a community is at the forefront. And community is at the forefront. And all of that means they want people to live in towns, not just towns. I've known for some time, and they reinforced it today in my conversation, that Glasgow city centre is the least populated city in Europe.
Oh, right, okay. I suppose it doesn't surprise me, but there's a lot of folk that just they come into Glasgow city centre, they work there, but they don't stay there.
Yeah, so what they're saying is, over years, without knowing that it was happening, is we were hollowing towns and cities out, and we were almost forcing people to the periphery. Now we as a town, and we've been really guilty of that. Even recently. I mean, I would argue that we've lost Marks and Spencers because we've allowed them to go to Walnut, because Walnut get planning permission. So,
absolutely.
But that's done and dusted, Andy. So the whole focus of that webinar tomorrow and that launch is about the strategic approach to the regeneration of town centres.
So important. Some great comments coming in there as well. I think Terry absolutely nails it. The importance of localism for the effective solutions. We've been talking about this, Terry, and I know that you're a big supporter of what we do, but we need to think that towns and town centres have completely changed. Folk with the rose-tinted glasses on that think it's going to go back to the good old days. The reality is it's just not going to happen. More folk are working from home now, so your office allocation is likely to go down. Everyone's buying online now. The amount of Amazon deliveries, etc., that folk get has completely changed the face of retail. We need to rethink what the high street is. We need to rethink what the town centres are. Drew talks about the cultural high street. Absolutely. Places not just to be enslaved to commercialism, but places to work. Yes. Places to live. Absolutely. Places to enjoy, to have leisure, to have food, to have drink, to have entertainment, to have arts, to have culture. Paisley needs to be on the front foot with this, because going back to retail is not the solution. Retail will be there. There's no doubt about that. Retail will be there, but it's going to evolve. So let's get on the front foot, and that's going to include housing. It's going to include leisure. It's going to include retail, and it's going to include other things, perhaps like health centres or hotels, or a different blend and a different mix. That's the evolving state of Paisley that we have got a capability of influence. And so let's get involved with that change.
Yeah, and that council one, Andy, the development across for the Abbey is a case in point. That's about repopulating town centres. Another one I want to show, Andy, is another couple. I'll quickly go through these because I'm conscious of our new discipline and time.
I thought that's going out the window already.
This is an image that's just down by the river. It is an artist's impression of a development that has been completed on the north side of the railway viaduct. Quite a nice development, but it's just, again, it's in the town centre. It's repopulating the town. A big attractor for Paisley is that it's got a railway station. It's the fourth busiest in Scotland, and it runs from Ayrshire to Glasgow Central.
Absolutely.
So if you want to live in Paisley, work in Glasgow, or live in Glasgow, work in Paisley, Paisley's a really attractive place. And, and another one, Andy, that I think is a good example of the potential development opportunities that could come in Paisley. And I know Scott and Johnny are maybe going to come on and talk about this type of thing. Yep. But this is right on the high street, retail on the ground floor, really good retail units, and residential above. So that's
doesn't that look beautiful, Gary? Doesn't that look absolutely beautiful, the way that's been reconditioned? And
it needs to be. We need to encourage guys like Johnny and Scott to say, look, Paisley's an attractive place. This is typical of the developments that could come to our town. And I want to highlight, I'm rattling on, Andy.
Well, listen, we've got a lot to get through, Gary.
I want to highlight where there are potential opportunities.
Right, go on.
I know Johnny and Scott are listening attentively here. There's a couple of opportunities that I want to highlight in gap sites. Yeah. So there's gap sites. If I can find it, what's that one there? There we go. So that gap site there is in a really cracking wee bit of the town.
Yep.
Up at the corner of George Street and Cossey Side Street, where the George pub used to be. Now, that's right. It caught my eye the other day, Andy, that a sign went up there and it's for sale.
Oh, that plot's for sale then? Has it got planning permission on it, Gary? Did you notice, or just the site's for sale?
I just noticed site for sale, Andy. Yeah. But that's a prime location in the town, right next to the university, and right next to a really nice retail mixed-use environment. So that's a cracking wee gap site opportunity, I would say. Yeah. And there are this one has also caught my eye. Now, up in the corner there, Andy, is another site that I'm going to highlight in a moment. But that is real potential for overlooking the river and then looking straight over to the Abbey. Now, that's up to.
Absolutely, and that one there, it was previously owned by someone else, but it's back up for sale on the market again. Yeah. That's got potential. There's no doubt. You know, we're in no illusion here. We know that this will take considerable amount of money to get these properties redeveloped, but you can see potential. Paisley has got potential, and it takes the bravery of a few individuals to say, do you know what, we are going to do this. And the more that happens, the more our town centre comes back to be a nice, lovely, pleasant place for individuals and families to grow, live, work, eat, play, the whole bit. That's the big picture, folks.
Yeah, and there's the other corner of that development opportunity and linking that together. So that's in the river. Again, looking over to the Abbey. That's going to be a fantastic. That one's happening. That one's coming.
Gary, can I say a few words about that one?
You certainly can, Andrew.
Because it was posted up on one of the Paisley pages. I can't remember which one it was, but it was posted up. And Savills are doing the retailing for it. And it was, register now. Prices start at 159, blah, blah, blah. See the amount of negative comments on that, Gary. I had to really hold back not commenting, and there were folk on there saying, why would you buy a flat there? Look at the price of it. It's so expensive. It doesn't look good. It's got terrible views. It will be made poor, etc., etc. Folks, I don't know who you are, but just stop talking the town down. This is progress. We had a derelict nightclub on that site. It was an absolute mess that was on that site. And individuals have taken the chance to say that they're going to spend their money to develop something, and sure, they'll make profit out of it. That's why they're in the business. But what they're going to do is they're going to invest in the town. And if they take one look at the negative stuff that's out there in the Paisley pages, we'll never get anything good. So we have got to support these initiatives and back these private investors that want to come in and develop the town. Sure, we need to have public, we need to have social, we need to have a mix of all that sort of stuff. But when progress comes along, folk are going to spend money to put in a restaurant or spend money to build a development, we really have to support them.
Yeah, that's a great, Andy. I mean, that's a great place to live there.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Somebody was saying, oh, it's got terrible views. If you're up in one of those, you look over the cart, you see the Abbey, you see the town hall, or you see the mill. Come on.
My goodness. Folk in this town sometimes walk about with their eyes shut.
I know. That's me off my soapbox now, Gary.
I want to highlight this one though, Andy. It's a bit of an eyesore. Used to be Picture Sports there when I was a boy. I used to go and buy my Fitbit boots out of there. And it's a real shame that place has just been left. But I would suggest that is another site prime for development. Or, Andy, as has been suggested in other parts of the country, that we just start knocking places down and make them green.
Make them green. And because that's got a lovely walkway right up through to Oak Shaw there. You could do some really beautiful landscaping in there. I remember Picture Sports, and the old Siege and all that sort of stuff. I'm sure folk will remember that. But, you're absolutely right, Gary. We don't just need to build buildings. We can actually build spaces where folk can stop and enjoy a wee bit of nature. Wouldn't that be great? Yeah,
and the one that didn't quite work, Andy, and is not in there was the one up in School Wynd that I wanted to highlight just beside Pace.
Right.
We had a grand scheme and we had Ramey up doing some drone work and we were wanting to knock down where the library was getting built and knock it up to be a path.
Oh, that I know the one that you mean. Yeah.
It just been a path. Let's create paths. Let's create nooks and crannies. Where there's a development opportunity, then let's take it. But where it's been lying derelict and unused for some time and there's no development opportunity, let's knock the damn thing down and make it green.
Make it green, absolutely. So listen, folks, I know we've been in a wee bit in our high horse and it's easy for us because we are passionate about the town, but we've got to really be, when folk are saying we're going to invest, we're going to develop, we're going to make the town better. We've just heard that the Paisley Centre and Marks and Spencer's has been sold. That's another great development at the High Street. That will see that continual evolution. So I know everyone here is super positive because they watch the chat show, but if you see it out there, let's just be positive and let's move on, Gary, before I'm back on my high horse.
Let's put our apologies in again. Our intentions on discipline, Andy, is just what are we like? We've been off on a tangent, started to gibber.
There was a lot of content there, Gary. That's pure quality content, Gary. Can't complain.
Good quality, by the way, but Annette's meant to be part of that time.
Right, let's get Annette on then, because we're going to question of the week, and then the guys from Lexcal are very patiently waiting in our black and white rooms. They disappeared at one moment there. I got worried, but they're back in their seats.
Scott and Johnny, that email I sent you to say we might overrun. We've overrun.
So here, is it time for Annette now? Is it time for question of the week?
Aye, she's got a minute.
Right.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. I do think this question that we asked last week fits into what you guys are talking about. This is a space that was used before and is just not getting used at the moment. So I'll go quickly on this then. It's just the last question.
You don't have to.
You don't have to, Annette.
Take your time.
Okay. Well, just a reminder is that we asked about the bandstand, the old bandstand that used to be in Barshaw Park. It was used in 1935. It was about, but wow. It was obviously got vandalised, and then we put in a wee zoo. And now the zoo's gone. The space is not being used. It's all fenced off. It may be used for dogs or something. I'm not sure, but at the moment it's all fenced off. So the question was out to the community, really, do you want to see the bandstand up running again? Would you like to see it have some events and stuff like that at the bandstand? So would you like to see the bandstand brought back to bring music and arts events back to Paisley? And oh my goodness, what a fantastic response. You know, the majority, 98% said yes, with 2% saying no. But
that's staggering figures, and I mean, you know, it was really well engaged. I know that there was an awful lot of. I mean, we look at our social media, all the shares, all the reach. This was really, really well discussed, and you know, that's a great number. 799 participants on the actual survey. 98%. There's no, you know, just to the concept and the idea. What massive support for that, innit?
Yeah, definitely. And the support was fantastic. There is obviously a little bit of concern about the fact that would it get vandalised again? Would the community look after this asset that we would have? But overall, very positive. Could we get government funding? Is there other people that we could get involved, like the council, the Friends of Fountain Gardens, Barshaw Park themselves? They have a group called Friends of Barshaw Park. So behind all of these comments, I was talking away to these guys and commenting, liking, and trying to find out and engage with them. So I've had a massive busy week, but once again, fantastic.
And someone sent in because we showed this image, which is the old bandstand, but someone did some work and brought it to life and colorised it in it.
I think it was this chap Robert Davidson. I don't know who he is, but he put that up in the chat, and I thought that, you know, that just brought it alive because it's hidden behind everything. There's some fantastic, even people putting in names of the events and, you know, kind of branding events and totally visualising how this would be for them.
Could be used. No, it was great, and obviously, Robert, if you put that image together and colorised it, that's great. You look awfully like a Terminator, Arnold Schwarzenegger there. So
you see, I looked at that closely. I thought, is that family?
Hasta la vista.
No, I know.
The thing I liked about that one on it was the engagement and the debate and the discussion actually widened out to not just Barshaw Park but to other parks. And Ian has quite rightly said, look, there's a bandstand that we could put in down at Fountain Gardens. What about the Fountain Gardens? And we've had some comment about the Brodie Park. And why don't we have a strategic approach to our parks? And nothing wrong with having bandstands at different places because they'll fulfil different things. I mean, Barshaw Park is probably the most used park in the town. I was down at Ferguson Gardens the other week, and it's a great space. It's a great park. Yeah. I think it could be used for running and sports.
Well, there's a really interesting comment there from Jackie. Is, you know, in terms of post-pandemic or coming out of pandemic, you know, big, large, open space areas where folk aren't crammed into a room. Yeah. Might actually be a really good idea, and to be quite honest, I mean, the bandstand there, you know, that structure looks fairly solid that used to be there, but actually a bandstand can be a fairly quickly assembled temporary structure. And I mean, Gary, you put on gigs, so you could do something like that quite quickly. I'm sure you had some feedback to that effect on it.
Yeah. Again, that's exactly what we could do. But also, some of the structure is still there. It just needs uncovered, and definitely in two of the parks. So definitely a project that as PCT we will look at and see how we can either help the people that are already starting the conversations or already kind of kick some of the projects off around the parks. So
we've got Drew here, I'm sure, Tango in the Park.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Drew would jump at the chance of having a dance-a-thon around the bandstands.
Yeah,
and
that'd be fantastic.
Now, I've got to say at this stage as well, and I'd like us to reinforce what question of the week is about, because there is still a bit of traffic and a lingering conversation about the Piazza question. For me, disappointingly, and I'd like to get across to people that all we're doing is asking a question.
And not only are we asking the questions, but the bandstand question came in from the community, and also I think this week's also come in from the community as well. Is that correct?
Yeah. Again, just to reinforce, it's the community that's asking the question, and it's actually coming out of some of the conversations, and also on the back of the show. A lot of people are coming onto the show, promoting their products, promoting what they do. So they're just trying to work out how can they keep it within Paisley. So today's one is all about the markets and the fact that we've got a fantastic market, the farmers market that comes into Paisley, which is absolutely brilliant. But what they're asking is how can they sell their products, and how, because they produce some creative stuff, and could they be part of that? So they then ask the question, is it possible to have more markets? Is it possible to have different types of markets in the Paisley in the town centre? So would a regular Paisley or Renfrewshire traders market be a worthwhile investment and attraction to our town centre? So I think it kind of covers some of the stuff that we talk about regularly. It's sociably, economical, cultural. It covers those three things. And if we can bring the talent that we have in Paisley already into the centre and help them to promote themselves, sell their products, then I think it's a great question to come out.
Fantastic. So
the question of the week this week is, would a regular Paisley or Renfrewshire market, traders market, I can't see it. Annie, what is that? I can't read it.
Glasses on, Gary.
Would a regular Paisley Renfrewshire traders market be worthwhile investment and attraction to our town? What it's saying is, should we actually have our own people coming in, our own Paisley Renfrewshire traders come in instead of?
So that's a fantastic question. So folks, remember, take part, but I'm going to make it dead easy for you because we'd like to do magic on the chat show. So get out your phones, get out your smartphone.
Every week. Yes,
every week. This is the interactive part of the show, folks. So get your phone up and then get it onto your camera. So you get your camera ready and then point it at the screen at the QR code. Everyone done that? You got your camera out. You should get a little link that says open surveymonkey.co.uk. When you do that, you'll see the question. You click OK, and then you answer the question, and that's you. And hopefully, Annette, you'll get some results streaming in this evening.
Yeah.
Great. And then on social media as well. It's on Facebook. So click the link on Facebook, and you'll be able to do that as well. Annette, thank you.
No worries.
Just a good pace.
I'll try to make it fast.
Right.
See you later, Annette. Bye.
Bye.
Great question of the week. And as Gary said, we're just asking the question. And with the bandstand, and here's a wee idea, the bandstand, there's undeniable demand and interest in that. If you have the skills, the capability, or the interest to get involved with Paisley Community Trust as that project, if you're a builder in the area, if you're an investor in the area, if you've run gigs before and you've got whatever, if you can make that dream come true and you want to have that as a project, and we need to speak to all the authorities and councils and planning and all that stuff, but if you want to get involved, get in touch.
Yeah, and don't forget, Andy, Friends of Barshaw are there, and we want to collaborate as much as we can and
have to work with them.
Park, but if we can bring something different to fast track that, let's get people on board.
Let's do it.
So, Andy, I think we've caught up a bit of time there. There's been a tailwind. We're catching up in time, but we're 15 minutes over time, guys. Really sorry about that. Although you're used to it, but we're trying our best to be more disciplined.
It's failing miserably.
I know. Today one, Andy, we're just not very good at this. Right, so moving on the show. So hopefully we're giving you a real good flavour that Paisley is a great wee place with development opportunities, gap sites, things going on. And our guests tonight are a perfect example of that. A couple of guys who have been brave enough, is the phrase we're using, Andy. That's the phrase of this evening. They've been brave enough to put their money where their mouth is, and they're developing a part of the town that's right in the town centre. and it is about above retail. So traditionally above retail was what's up there? I don't really know what's up there. The future is about 20-minute economy, a journey from your house anywhere in the town that you can do whatever you need to do. You can shop, you can have leisure, and you can work. And central to that is developers and attracting developers. So our guest tonight, we've got Johnny and Scott from Lexcal Property Developments. Sorry, Investments. Welcome, guys.
How we doing, Alex?
How are we?
Very good in yourselves.
Good, doing well.
Now,
What worried after all this brave part?
Well, it's been mentioned a few times, and there's a lot of people have been brave, but it's bravery in investment terms, not in location, because Paisley's right for it, as we've highlighted tonight. Hopefully, when you're watching in the background, you get a flavour of the change that's happened in the town, I'd say, over the past 15 years. Where, again, we were hollowed out. Retail in Paisley was quite a force, and we were hollowed out. People lived on the outside. Now we want people to live on the inside. But before we get to that, we just want you to introduce yourself, guys, just to say hello. We've got quite a big audience in tonight. Who are you? Where are you from? What do you do?
So I'm Johnny, and this is Scott. We've teamed up together. Feels like a lifetime ago now, to be honest. It's definitely aged me. But no, we've been doing this for a while now, quite organically. Had been doing bits and pieces separate, and we just kind of a bit of a nemesis actually. He was popping up doing developments, I was trying to up it doing developments, and we just kind of came together and kind of had the same mission, and not really looked back since.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic, and obviously you were both doing property development. Have you guys got a background in construction? Are you both from the trades and turned into developers, or always on the development investment side of things?
No, I think for me personally, I worked in a job for 10, 11 years in sales and project management. Always had a passion for property, kind of loosely involved, but it's over the last few years that really accelerated that. And as Johnny said, we kind of came together. We got to know each other, and we realised that we had the same kind of vision, the same passion, the same drive, and where we wanted to go. So for myself, it was more around a kind of sales and project management background, and then the last few years really accelerated that and got deeper and further on into the kind of property industry.
You mentioned a couple of times there, and both of you have mentioned it separately, that you've got a mission. You've got a passion. What is that mission? What is the kind of the thing that drives you and that runs through both of you that you want to do what you do?
So I think just for us as well, it's important, and it comes across in this development that we'll go on to speak to. Something that we wanted to get across, and obviously property developers, there can sometimes be quite a negative connotation, as you touched on when you were chatting there around it's profit and that coming in and big bad property developers. So for us, obviously, we're in this. We'll never try and hide it. We're in this. This is what we do. This is our job. But there's a bigger game. There's a bigger vision there, and we'll touch on how we're incorporating that into the Gilmore Street development. But we want to try and regenerate areas such as Paisley. We want to come in. We want to be able to give a little bit back as well, because I think there is that connotation of big bad property developer. So if we can change that and come in, give back to the communities, then that's what we want to do.
Yeah, and I think no one's under the illusion that you have to make money, because if you can make a little bit of profit, that means that you go on to your next job and you get a wee bit more ambitious, and then you make some more profit and you go into your next job. It allows you to continue doing what you're doing, and what you're leaving behind are places better than they were when you found them, because I guess, and we will talk about the project in a minute, you're looking at places that are in pretty poor states that need a lot of upfront investment. That's probably difficult, I would imagine, from a cost versus profit point of view to justify, but you're brave enough to take the risk, and hopefully you can deliver it on time, on budget, with the right kind of margins involved to allow you to go on. So as much as people might have their complaints, you're so vital to the regeneration of town centres.
Yeah. I think even breaking it down, obviously, to the town centres, that's on a much smaller scale. But if we don't have these town centres, it's all part of a bigger play. And with any investment, of course, there's risk. But if you don't regenerate these smaller towns, get footfall, it's all a bigger impact to the economy. Is this project going to be the one we retire on? Definitely not. I don't know. Depends what you can retire on, but
depends how this relationship is in the next few months. It's on the edge.
Listen, you've both got full heads of hair. You know, I mean, look at me and Gary. This is what happens when you work together with each other for 5 years.
You tried to develop this last year. That's what
you should do what we've tried to do. But I've something that you mentioned there about profit and being sustainable. I remember a project I worked on a while ago, and I don't get this a lot in the line of work I'm in, but my customer took me aside and said, "Are we paying you okay? And are you making enough out of this? Because we need you to be there the next time because you're a valuable service." And it's the exact same for you guys. If you go bust on the back of a high-risk property development, it's no good for you, and it's no good for the regeneration of areas. So we're here to encourage you and wish you every success in that development. Hope that you make a profit out of it, enough to go into somewhere else in Paisley and make another success of it. Yeah. So that's what we want to say to you. We're encouraging you to do that and make good at what you're doing.
Absolutely. I don't think there's anybody out there, regardless with the best will in the world, that would generally work for nothing. So obviously there is a part of that. We both obviously need to be making money, as I suppose everybody is. But I mean, I think even just breaking it down to the community level in Paisley, I mean, we've been overwhelmed with even obviously like yourselves reaching out, and the Mill magazine, the local magazine, ran an article on this, and the engagement in that, and the feedback that we got from people locally who are supporting the project, who are delighted that we're coming in to help and regenerate the high street. We were overwhelmed with the feedback on it. It was tremendous. So because it feels as if there's a real, and that was part of the attraction to Paisley, the community end you speak to from there, the community spirit, and everybody's keen to see us do well, which I think is a big part.
Now, you two guys are not from Paisley, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, you're from. Don't worry, we don't hold it against you.
I don't know. I saw Chuck does.
It's not a trick question, guys.
People are allowed to exist.
Clearly, you've seen potential in the town. So, what attracted you to spend your money in Paisley?
I think it goes back to multiple factors. Obviously, being in property, there is a housing shortage, and we feel that there's a lot of lovely buildings there that obviously still hold substantial value. Why are we not using them to regenerate them? It just really tied in well. We're obviously looking at the kind of 2030 vision of Paisley, and it just aligned with what we were trying to do at the time to give back, which obviously ties quite nicely into what we agreed to do. We're going to actually give a percentage of the profits to the local homeless charity. So there is going to be a donation to that. And furthermore, what we've actually decided to do is do a kind of hamper. So the MD that buys a property, one of the properties we're doing, they're going to have a discount from maybe the butchers. We've already got Mortgage Wise round the corner that have said that they're happy to provide a deal for local people. So there's a couple of strings to the bow in there. Look, it's why take the kind of trouble to be nice about it when you take the pleasure? The list is endless, really.
Yeah. Well, that's good. You mentioned something there that I jotted down today in my conversation with the Scotland's Towns Partnership, and it was the exact same words you used. And the words they used were want to encourage development of existing carbon footprint.
Yeah.
So you're spot on there, and if that's your niche, and I don't know if it is your niche, maybe you want to say that it's not, or you're multifaceted in your development. But if that's your niche, it's now at government level. It's getting announced tomorrow, by the way, guys. All of this. So this is a sneak preview of some of the things that are getting announced tomorrow. But existing carbon footprint and the 20-minute journey and regeneration of properties in town centres is bang on the point.
is bang on. And just before we go on to talk about the actual project itself, you said something, I think, which is dead clever, really smart. You're doing a hamper for everyone that buys a property. What a brilliant opportunity that is, because imagine you buy a property in Paisley, you buy it because it's in Gilmer Street, it's close to the railway station, you perhaps don't know Paisley. But in your hamper, as you say, the butchers, you open it up, you get some nice meat for Phelps, the butchers, then you get some nice picture frames from the White Cart Company, then you get something else from another local trader. That person, whoever buys that property, is getting a wee introduction to all the local traders, so that when it is time to go to the butchers, or is time to go and buy some home furnishings, or is time to go to one of the other stores, they've got an introduction to it as well. And that's not you just selling flats. That's you binding people into the community. That is brilliant. And the fact that you're giving back to local homeless charities, guys, I really applaud you for the work that you're doing. So let's talk about the development itself, because I know most folk will know it when they see it. So I'll just put a wee picture up on the screen of where it is, and then you can talk us through the development itself.
Again. It actually doesn't look like that just now. There's a big scaffolding outside of it, so
if you go by, you'll see it's been covered with scaffolding.
I've got that picture. I'll show that in a moment. But tell us about this one. So this is in Gilmer Street, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I think even right away when we're talking about a footprint, you can see historically how it's a statement building. I think even just at a glance, I don't think you need a degree in architecture to definitely see how valuable these buildings are. The detail that's obviously went into the front of it, the facing, it lends itself to being a phenomenal property, or multiple.
Yeah.
So straight away, get excited.
Is it property to the right as well, guys?
Yes, so above the Caprice Cafe, you'll see, which I believe on the back of the article that was run, is quite a famous cafe from everyone there. So above that, and then to the right and up again, so it's over 3 stories.
Yeah, so there's another, guys.
Yeah, so you can see where the scaffolding is up to. So you've got above the cafe, you come in the communal area, and then you've got the 3 stories there as well. So it's going to be converted, and we're going to put 3 2-bed flats and 2 1-bed flats in there, which is what you see from a
3 2-bedroom flats, and what was the other one?
And 2 1-beds.
And
I want to say that this isn't speculative. This is happening now.
Yeah, it's ongoing. And from the outside, I think anybody that was took in, and anybody that's seen the site, once you get in there and see the space that's in there, and the creative juices start flowing, it's incredible. Because from the outside, people look at it and think, how are you getting 5 flats in there? But it's going to be 5 kind of spectacular flats.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got some pictures of the internals. We picked out a couple of the good ones, but this is, I guess, you at the back of the first floor, looking out towards Gilmer Street, and those 3 sort of arched windows at the front that you can see there. But let's just say that's not in a habitable condition right now. You've got your work cut out there, boys.
Yeah, that's what Scott's bedroom looks like. So
I've designed it that way.
No, listen, that's to a lot of people that looks like somebody's put a grenade through the window and left it. But see, personally for us, we just, the creative juices started flowing right away. That we had so many different ideas for that. Obviously, you can see in the faraway corner there the massive old sash and case windows. As part of the listed building consent, we're going to need to actually keep them, and we'll get a grant, a 50% grant on them. So to get the support is phenomenal for these type of things, because obviously they aren't cheap. It would be great to come back with all the same coving, all the original features, but you are kind of governed by the price of materials and what is going to sell, obviously. If it was up to us, there would be hot tubs in the roofs and all sorts of things. So we need to rein ourselves in there sometimes.
I think one of the attractors of the potential of the flats, guys, that I've seen is that it's just not square boxes. There's character in the front and the cornice, and as you say, but the shapes as well. Is it interesting to see you taking advantage of the shape?
Yeah, I'm 1,000,000%. Like I said, there's 5 different units get in there, but not like your kind of new builds that are all thrown up just now, and they're very similar. Maybe not of the kind of quality of these older buildings, but you can just see from this photo, I mean, with the high ceilings, we're having to raise the floor a little bit just for different plumbing issues, but you can see the character already in terms of the high ceilings, as Johnny touched on, the windows, the different shapes and sizes of the flats. It's not like just putting in kind of your new build, which are all pretty standard and the same.
Yeah. And that one there, I'll just take that comment off the screen right now. But you know, one of the comments that I was going to say, and you know, that building, goodness, I've walked past it so many times, and you know that it's got a dodgy roof. You know it's been letting in water, and when you see that image there, you can see in the right hand side all the stain and all the water coming through from the roof. So you know, that building has obviously been left to get into that condition, but has there been a lot of sort of roof work and structural work to just make it safe before you can fit it out, or was actually fabric wise it was kind of okay?
Yeah, well, of course, before you go to any site, we're going to need to do like we've done an intrusive survey, because obviously working from the top and working the way back makes absolute sense, just going from a watertight perspective. So the roof has needed some work, which we're going through just now. And then obviously, again, it's just, we're trying to navigate through a pandemic at the same time here, which obviously comes with its own hurdles. But I mean, I think we're mad enough to say that it's made it a bit more exciting. So yeah, structurally the building is sound, and where it's at just now is about partitions, but there's obviously elements needing to take into consideration. I could actually go on about the detail all day. I'll get quite excited about that type of thing.
but I mean, it's clear, and that's good. You know, it's clear that you are passionate about the quality of what you're doing. You see the bigger picture, and you know, you want to make sure that you're putting in good quality homes in there, and you know, you're a stone's throw away from the train station. I can see there being a lot of demand. You obviously have had a bit of press already with the Mill magazine and ourselves tonight, but you know, what stage is the development at? When do you hope to start to put property on to market? And you know, what sort of interest have you been getting from that, from the kind of end game point of view?
Just to touch on a point you made there, I think you're right to say that the detail and the effort that's gone in to how this will look in the end, it's important to us to make sure it matches, because there's no point getting into a building like that, stunning building, and to walk in and for someone to feel let down or disappointed with it inside. So it's all got to align. And for us, like you said, with Mill magazine, with yourselves, I mean, we had people that are already showing an interest. But from the article in the magazine, just location wise, as you said, the train station, close to the universities, right on the high street. So from a location point of view, already there's people getting excited about it.
Yeah, I'm sure. And there's an interesting question, quite a tangent to go off on. But John McIntyre, the guy who we were talking about earlier about the Fergusley project, is employment something that you can create, or is it just so difficult just now, or do you have your own trades team? Just to answer John's question there.
Yeah, well, in regards to the trades, not at this stage. This has all been planned in advance, obviously, with schedule of works with our contingencies in. So at this stage for construction, not so much. But again, working with the Mill magazine, we've approached the media students and stuff to help them come in and showcase and develop their skill set, which they were blown away with, weren't they? We're working with a guy, John, who's a fantastic photographer, actually really talented photographer. Great. So yeah, there is opportunities, and as I said, we're working with Mortgage Wise round the corner. So if we get scope to offer that additionally, as it progresses, 100% the doors open. Again, it's hard to really open the doors and reach out more given the pandemic and stuff. But we're trying to push the boundaries within the boundaries, obviously.
I think, as we touched on as well, we've done a lot of research and we've looked into why we're investing in Paisley. And as we say, this is something that we're really excited about. But we see this as being the first of many developments. So there will be opportunities, and that's why we're really trying to get to know more about the local businesses. As Johnny touched on with the hamper, for us to tie in, if you buy a new property, you tend to get a hamper cleaning products, a box of chocolates, bottle of wine. We're trying to do it slightly different so that if we tie in a restaurant that gives you 20% off maybe for a couple of visits, and you tie in all the, then it does give us that stronger link. Moving forward, and who knows if the door does open, or in future developments, it would be brilliant to work with local trade people as well.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And, clearly the opportunity to go from this project onto your next project. And I suppose ultimately you talk about the constraints of pandemic. We'll no talk about Brexit, because I know that the construction industry has been pretty impacted, cost of materials going up through Brexit and all that sort of stuff. I'm sure you've had that headache to deal with. But ultimately, this is project number 1 in Paisley. You want to get this one done, those units sold on, recover your investment, and then move on to the next one. So what's your timeline? When do you hope to complete in terms of all your construction work on this one? And I guess ultimately Paisley is a future. You're keen to invest and continue that relationship.
I think as we touched on before we came on here, when we were chatting to you, although we're still very much in the middle of this development, we're already looking at other opportunities in the area. I know we said we'll not go into too much detail just now. Close to the chest a little bit on that front, but as you know, we touched on it with yourselves. So it's not a case of us waiting this is done to then unlock the gate to go into the next one. We're already far on, looking at another site and looking at regenerating another part of Paisley. In terms of this, as Johnny touched on, we're starting from the top, we're working our way down. We're really going to accelerate now the interior work, and we're hoping that over the next few months you'll see a massive difference, and we'll keep you updated throughout, as I'm sure.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm interested to know what's the key for Paisley. What have you seen that made you say, let's invest there?
I think it goes back to the quality of the buildings. My favourite refurbs, flips, everything's always been done in the Glasgow tenement, to the point we actually started exploring the type of brick, the two different the sandstone, we went quite far deep into the history of the tenements at one point, because we thought we're never getting them back. We're seeing developments now throwing townhouses up left, right and centre, and I get it, it's cost per site, and everybody's trying to cram them in, but they're never going to make them like that again. And obviously when you look back at the footfall and the markets and everything that Paisley had, it makes so much sense to do so.
I think when we initially sat down and obviously done our extensive kind of due diligence, and like you say, we make sure it's amazing looking at these projects, but it has to work financially as well. And it has to work location-wise. There's so many factors, but for us, even just looking at the likes of Paisley being selected, I think as a pilot case to try and regenerate town centres and really kind of be at the forefront of that, that's exciting for us. So to be right in the middle of that and to be part of that, it was an opportunity we felt that was too good to pass up.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. We had Catherine Watt on a few weeks ago, and it's Catherine Watt. I've got her name right, haven't I, Gary? And Catherine is she basically sneaks about Paisley's tenements when folk are there about, and she goes in and she takes pictures of all the architectural details, the tiles.
Where I'm from.
Well, she's great. She's absolutely brilliant. But she was on a few weeks ago, and there was a couple of buildings that we were looking at. There was one up the West End of building, and it is an old tenement. It's got beautiful stuff, but there's no windows in it at all. It's just lying derelict. It's opposite the kind of what used to be the old co-op. They put some new housing on it just across the way, and again, for you guys, it's please continue to do what you're doing, because if we can support you in any way, shape or form, we will absolutely do that, because there's some brilliant architectural gems. There's Frank McPherson, who during COVID actually produced a photographic book of all the listed buildings in Paisley, and that's a brilliant book, but it records how brilliant a set of assets that we've got in the town. David's asking you a price point question. What's your price point? What size? What type of market are you trying to hit here, guys?
Obviously, again, we're governed by the ceiling for there. So the 1 beds will go for about 105. The 2 beds will go for about 120.
Yeah.
I think just to pick up on what you're saying, I think, and we've said it, but when we speak to anyone locally from Paisley, and it comes across when you speak, when we were sitting listening to the show, that the passion that people have that are from Paisley, it oozes out of them. So even when you're talking about these gap sites, and we're already looking at different development opportunities in Paisley, like the passion that everyone's got for the area is incredible. So why would we not continue to develop here?
We'll drag you along to the gap sites with some contracts and get them signed up. Right there, one guy's signed. There, one signed.
Well, that is the thing. We have got the capacity to take on a lot more, and we're looking to do that and to work with the community. So, I mean, anybody that's out there that are eyeing something, we team up with people all the time to take part involvement, full involvement. There's always a conversation to be had.
Well, listen, there was a building when we had Frank on, we also had Cameron on, and we talked about the buildings in Paisley, and I know we're overrunning, but this is, you know...
There, Andy, I had that in the back.
I
didn't put that picture in the back. I just had it on as something to chat about. So it's good you're bringing it up. I know what you're going to talk about.
What, the REI?
REI, yeah.
The REI building, are you familiar with that one, guys?
The REI?
No. The Old Royal Alexandra Infirmary in Paisley. I'll try and get an image up, but it was the old hospital in Paisley, up Nielsen Road. It was bought several years ago at auction for a snip. The person that owns it just sits on it and does nothing. But I mean, don't get me wrong, it will take a few quid to get this back on track. But what a beautiful building in Paisley. I'll try and get some images up if I can. But what a beautiful building.
What a legacy you would leave behind, guys, if you took that one on. Because it was our hospital. So it was the hospital right up the other end of the town. And it's partly been developed. There's some verandas, balconies, old big giant staircases internally, some lovely wee nooks and crannies at the side that have been developed, and a bit in the middle that's been left, and it's a development opportunity.
Yeah. No, 100%. I think that's why we're putting so much emphasis, because obviously we've made a huge commitment to Paisley. We've made a commitment to the area, and that's why we're putting a lot of emphasis on building relationships with people like yourself and people locally, because as Johnny said, that's stunning. As Johnny said, we've got the capacity to continue to develop and continue to work, whether that's teaming up with people or taking things on ourselves. So the more that we can do, if it makes sense for everyone, then we're happy to continue to do that.
And the thing is, guys, you know, that bravery that we've talked about earlier on, you know, whoever bought this has just bought it as sitting as an asset on their book, but it's been allowed to go to rack and ruin. But when you look at the embarrassment of architectural riches that building is, and what it could be turned into, you know, if there was any way to make that happen, I know we're dreaming here, guys, but if there was any way to make that happen, you know, we would have a full support. And one final question before we wind up for this evening, and this question actually came in, not just in terms of, you obviously see the the questions that come in social media, but in private chat, Annette was asking if you've ever built bandstands before, because there might be a need in Barshaw Park, guys.
Listen, we could have saved ourselves a few quid and just bought that bandstand for the amount of people that have been chatting about it when we've tuned in tonight. So we'll look at adding a few bandstands.
Well, the engagement on that, guys, was, I think, one of the highest ever social media campaigns. It reached almost half of the population of Paisley.
Wow, that's incredible.
On our social media, it was amazing. Not everyone filled the survey in, but to have nearly 1,000 people fill a survey in to say 98% yes, they want a bandstand at Barshaw is really significant. And if we put in a question of the week, do you want Lexcal Property Investments to buy the old REI and develop it for flats? I'm sure I know what the answer will be.
Oh, aye.
Let's start the ball rolling.
Definitely.
We'll support you in everything we can. Guys, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Sorry we're a wee bit late getting to you, but as you can hopefully see from the social media, it is, everyone is supporting what you're doing. And, you know, we know that Paisley has got its historical issues, but it's got a really bright future ahead of it. And you guys are investing your money, your time, your expertise, and well, we're thankful for that. And, you know, the community quite clearly are supportive of that. So, gents, well done. We wish you all the best. Let's keep in touch, and we would love to get you back on when you've got your show home or your show flats to show. We'd love to get you on so we can show them out and help you along the way there. All right?
Hey, John, thanks for coming on the show. That was great.
No, thank
you very much. Cheers.
See you later on, guys. Bye now. Bye-bye.
Guys.
That was great, Gary. That's what it's all about, Gary.
Wasn't that fantastic? Just get the guys coming on passionately talking about their business.
Yeah.
And not hiding behind it. You shouldn't hide behind business, that you're in business to make money. Of course you are. You're there to make your living and to move on in your life. And they guys told their story brilliantly, invested in our community. And I love the way they're doing things slightly differently, Andy. The hamper thing, really touch of class.
So much positive comment. But Gary, there's a wee comment there I'm itching to put on the screen to address.
Oh, aye. I do it then.
You do it. Right, Graham. Come on, Graham. What are you all about?
Graham, you want to come on and have a chat with us and tell us what you mean?
Tell us what you mean, Graham. Because seriously, first of all, what you doing listening if you're no pro Paisley? First of all. Secondly, that attitude is not going to get anyone anywhere with this town. We need to be positive for regeneration in our town centre. And it says Paisley not big enough for this. Paisley's not big enough for what? Paisley is the largest town of Scotland. It's got a huge heritage and huge background from the mills. It was a booming place. It went downhill. It got completely changed. Retail has moved out. And we're not in a great position. But what's your proposal? How do we turn around the fortunes of the town? How do we get Paisley to be the proud place that it ought to be? Because you get bags of support, you get hugely engaged communities there. What's your solution?
I think the word that gives Graham away is there. Paisley.
Oh, I didn't even pick up on his.
Well, I don't think Graham is from Paisley, and it's just the myth that surrounds the outer circle of Paisley, that Paisley's not a very nice place to live. Paisley's the best place in Scotland to live. It's the biggest town in Scotland and the best town in Scotland. It's well connected, and as you can see from this evening, guys like Scott and Johnny are not going to invest their money in a dead duck. They're going to invest their money in somewhere that is investable and somewhere that they can regain their investment. And as you can see for the guys, they're here for the long term.
Absolutely.
And we know that Paisley's on the up.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, the other thing, and you know, you should never give these individuals too much airtime, you know, but when you look at what's going on in the town right now, and okay, the world is suffering from COVID, but you look at what's going on in the town, the council is making significant investment in the town hall. The council is making significant investment in the museum, Paisley Arts, and also public realm. So you've got all that going in. Then you've got, I'll deal with that in a second. Then you've got the folk that have just bought the Paisley Centre in Marks and Spencer's, right? With big plans to invest their hard-earned money because they see potential in the town. And Paisley's full of charity shops and pound shops. I'm from Paisley, and it went to be city and never got it. What are you going to say about that, Gary?
The thing is, with anywhere that you live, you've said it a number of times, Andy, you live here, you decide to give up or you move away. We're a community group, and we're a growing community that's passionate about the town and have decided to stay and do something about it. We're going to do something about it. We've been doing this for some time now, and we're on the cusp of what we think is the upward trajectory for Paisley. We're fed up with being at the bottom. We're fed up with comments like, it's rubbish here, the town's crap. everywhere's the same, but we've got a solid base to build from. We've got a solid strategic objective with the council, Scottish Towns Partnership, the government and ourselves all working together to a common goal of regeneration of the town centre. And that is going to have to accelerate because of emergency. And that's what's going to happen.
Absolutely.
So get on board or get off.
Well, exactly. And we've said that before, Gary. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And you can do one of those three things. You can either stay and moan, you can leave, or you can stay and do something. We're staying to do something. And if you want to see Paisley change, well, maybe you're just the type of individual that just wants to moan about stuff. And if that's your thing, that's your thing. But if you want to see Paisley, I think folk would like to have a nice surrounding round about them, things for them to do, places to go, places to shop, places to eat, etc., etc. That doesn't happen overnight. It takes effort. And by the way, it's not the council's responsibility. The council's got a role to play in it, but the community have got a huge part to play in it, in cooperation with the council and other stakeholders in the town. So, Graham, you're welcome to come on this show at any point. Lively debate is always welcome, but you're only ever going to get positive push to make Paisley better. That's all we're interested in. Thanks for your comments tonight, Paisley, Graham. But I think you were outnumbered with the support.
Yeah, and no disrespect, Graham, and our passionate retort. That's a cracking word, Andy, to end on.
A passionate retort. But Gary, you know, we talk about the guests making this show. We do it all the time, and the guys from Lexcal clearly are investing, and not only are they just going to do one and see how it goes, they're already looking at other ones. That's a really great sign, and it's really great to hear what they talked about in the town, what they see that we perhaps ignore, you know, and it's great to see that. But look at the support. Isn't that just wonderful that we get brilliant support?
And it's been a great show, Andy, and I know that there are people out there that have got their view, and that's okay, and it's okay. But
that's all right.
Please remember that we're here to try and turn that argument and have a counter argument and be as positive as we can.
Yeah. So, and if anyone is out there and they want to get involved, if they want to do something, actually do something, why don't you volunteer? Why don't you become a member of Paisley Trust? Go onto our website, sign up, PA1, 2 or 3, become a member and do something. Actually do something, because your effort can make a wee bit of difference. So roll your sleeves up, say something positive, do something positive, and things will start happening for the better. Right, let's move on, Gary. Because
it's always good to get a challenge back, Andy. I mean, there's no harm in it. There's no harm in it. Because getting challenged and pushed to the side and moving a wee bit and reacting good, thinking about it, things happen for the better. I know Absolutely. That. Look, let's keep the challenges coming, guys. But as always, and thanks, Graham, for being polite with your comments, although maybe not in the same vein as what we are thinking. But it's good to get comments in. Thanks.
That's all right.
Thanks for your comments. Do appreciate it.
Right. Where are we, Gary? Are we done?
We're done. We've overrun by 23 minutes, Andy, for a show that we were going to be so disciplined that we were going up the road at 9 o'clock.
Gary, we'll never get picked up by any of the networks, because we just, you know, at 9 o'clock you'd have, I don't know, Heartbeat coming on or the news or something.
The Oscars, because they'll be away. Hold on a minute. I'm speaking to Daniel Day-Lewis. We're having a chat about his left foot.
I think clearly, you know, what's his name? Graham Norton's safe, Gary. Will not be encroaching in his space with our dreadful timekeeping. But listen, folks, when you've got lively debate, when you've got interesting guests, when you've got question of the week, and we started this off 43 weeks ago, thinking we'll maybe run for 3 months and we'll see how we get on, or 2 months and we'll see how we get on. We'll do it for half an hour. We've ended up an hour and a half, because Paisley is so rich with enthusiasm. It's so rich with interesting people. It's so rich with community heroes. We've got to shine the light on them. It's our duty to. So it is an hour and a half, Gary. That's what it is. Let's be honest.
Aye, well.
Tonight anyway.
Andy, tonight was going to be that night. Honestly, we did right. Okay, we'll cut a guest slot out. We'll take that first 15-minute guest slot out. We'll merge that bit into that. That's going to be 15. We even give the guys who are the guests a wee bit longer. Right, we'll do that. That's about an hour, isn't it? That's all right, isn't it? I hope. Hour and a half later, bang.
We ended up converting the REI the night, Gary.
I think we've got a deal there. I think we have got a deal. And Andy, see if we've got enthusiasm of guys like that know there's a legacy to be left behind and money to be made. There we go. We're making the right connections, and it's all live on Paisley's community chat show. And more exciting things coming up in the weeks ahead, Andy, on the chat show. What we got next week, Andy?
You're asking me, Gary, but I don't think I've got anything planned for next week, but I might have something planned for the week after, which, folks, if we get this right, for the week after, so that's March the 3rd. Yeah. We're into March already, that's the 3rd. Not only will we have a local connection, but we'll have a remote connection from the other hemisphere of the planet. We might have someone dialing in from down under, Gary.
That's amazing, isn't it? And we've got such interest from around the world. We want to talk about this idea that we spoke about just before we come on the show to see if anyone gives a thumbs up.
Right, we'll quickly see. We've got 42 viewers still on. We'll quickly see how this number depletes when we talk about this. But you had an idea, Gary, for doing something quite ambitious, to raise some money for charity with the chat show in mind.
Yes, I did. Well, I tell folk about it.
Go on, give us a wee sneak preview of what you've got in mind, Gary.
We don't know when it might be. We don't know how it might work, but we're thinking about having a charity chatathon, and if we can be on air for 24 hours constant, raising money for charity, loads of guests coming in, cycling in the background, juggling, and raising money for a local good cause or local good causes. We're going to see if technically we can make that work. If we can make it technically work and get a slot in the diary, then we're going to do that.
So basically what we're looking at is 24 hours, almost kind of like a Paisley's answer to children in need. We need to have one of those kind of things, that a totalizer or whatever it's called. And 24 hours with multiple guests, singing slots, juggling slots. Goodness gracious.
That's not the spirit, Josh. You're one of the guests on that
Come on,
night.
Josh.
You're coming on that day to help us.
That's not the point. So listen, we want your and there's the other half there coming on saying that's a lot of tea to make for that one. We'll need to take toilet breaks, Gary.
I'll need a commode. As official, Norris McWhirter's just phoned me. He's just a wee word in my ear saying you're allowed 5 minutes in every hour.
5 minutes, and is that health and safety to
comfort break?
Answer a call of nature. So a 24-hour chat-a-thon marathon to raise money for good causes. It sounds like a good idea. Goodness knows what time we'll start off. Goodness knows what time we'll finish. But and goodness knows when we'll do it. But folks, if you're up for it,
it's a cracker. A good one,
Christine. You're probably not wrong there. To be honest, you're probably not wrong.
Let's see if we can time it right, Andy, that we come out of the pandemic and we're allowed people to come and say hello.
Come round to your man cave, Gary, and say hello. That would be good. So listen, folks, at some point in 2021, chat-a-thon, 24 hours to raise some good causes. We'll have folk on from the council, we'll have folk on for Renfrewshire Leisure, we'll have folk on from the local businesses, we'll have, people from the arts, culture. We maybe start off with Caroline Gormley doing part of our bog roll painting and see how it looks 24 hours later. We could do all that stuff, Gary.
Hey, see, the juices are flowing. It's got real possibilities, Andy.
Right.
Let's say we're doing it. Right, we're doing it. We're committed to it, but we don't know when we're doing it.
I'll need to get some caffeine going for that. But listen, Gary, we're not doing 24 hours tonight. We've done an hour and a half, and that's our whack.
Okay, right. So we're up for that. So that's another brilliant show tonight, actually, Andy. Showing off Paisley in its whole of all the opportunities that it holds from a property development point of view. I've really enjoyed it, Andy.
I really enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed the interaction from everyone with the social media. It's been great to have your support. Absolutely brilliant as always. We've got our show coming up next week. What it is will be a surprise to you. It'll be a surprise to us as well, but we'll have a show.
Go at it.
But in the meantime, folks, have a wonderful, well, what day are we at? This is Wednesday, so it's all downhill to the weekend now, Gary.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm going up to dancing at the weekend. I'm going to Paris at the weekend.
You're showing your age now, Gary. Well, listen, folks, it's good night from me.
And for me. Good night, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.
Good night now.